Welcome back to the Cal Park Bros podcast. Jason and I have had our fill of vaccine mandate talk on the college and the workplace level. And Jason talked me into joining another Facebook sports group where basically we can talk recklessly about hot sports takes. And as luck would have it, there's been a lot of NBA action the last week. I would say not bad for a league that is not going to have the Brooklyn Nets nor the Los Angeles Lakers in the NBA Finals. So, Jason, first off, thanks for roping me into another social media entanglement of fun and sports fuckery. But also, I want to know, what are your thoughts so far about the NBA playoffs, man? I mean, we thought for sure that if injuries weren't a thing, that it was going to be Brooklyn there, and that the Lakers were going to be there. And if was a fifth, we'd have different players in these conference finals. So, what have been some storylines that have really surprised you related to the NBA teams that are still in the running for the NBA championship?
First of all, I do want to go ahead and officially welcome you again to the best sports group on Facebook, by the way. And you've thoroughly enjoyed it. I know it. So I just want to put that out there. When it comes to the NBA and the playoffs, I go back to episode 1, and I believe one of our topics was, at that point, the NBA season up to that point. I think that day they had maybe just started, or it might have been the second day of their play-in tournament. Right? So, and that was a while ago, obviously. So it's kind of come this far. But I believe in that episode, I think I said that the regular season wasn't very interesting because there was this narrative that unless you can beat the Lakers in the playoffs, then what you do in the regular season don't matter. And then we had an addition to that. Once James Harden went to the Brooklyn Nets, then it's like, okay, well, unless you beat the Lakers in the playoffs or the Brooklyn Nets in the playoffs, it's meaningless. And so basically, that type of thing has been a narrative for the NBA playoffs for several years, and now this one's included. But guess what? That narrative has been broken. Because like you said, we are in the NBA playoffs, have now gotten to the conference finals, and neither one of those teams, Lakers or the Nets, are there. Now, of course, as you mentioned, injuries. I think any NBA fan who's aware will agree that injuries certainly probably play a little bit of a key role in why those two teams didn't even advance to the conference finals. In the case of Brooklyn, Kyrie Irving, and obviously Anthony Davis with the Lakers, and in some regard, James Harden a little bit too for the Nets as well, although he played in the final game of that series. But I'm actually interested now in the playoffs. I want to see which of these 4 teams is going to win the championship. We have a few teams at least, or I think 3, that have never won the NBA championship. I already have a team picked that I want to win. I'm pushing towards Phoenix, man. Even though I can't, if they won the championship, I couldn't call them CP0 anymore. So I'd be sad to lose out on that. But I think that's the team I'm pulling for on the overall. Atlanta on the East, of course, they're the one team that I don't think has won the NBA championship. I know they won as the St. Louis Hawks, but I don't recall if they're in the NBA. But no matter what, I think the playoffs are interesting now. Not only because they're in the conference finals, but we have teams that are like, I don't know who's going to win the championship. I can't pick a favorite. I mean, right now Phoenix is up 2-0 on the Clippers after winning last night in awesome fashion. And then the Eastern Conference Finals start tonight. They're up in Milwaukee. So I don't know who's going to win these games because the Clippers can easily come back and win the next 2 in LA, and then there you go.
No, they can't. That's the sad part. That's the sad part is that I don't actually see the Clippers being able to come down from this 2-0 hole. Because first off,
I'm not saying they're going to win the series. I'm just saying they could easily win the next 2 games.
Why do you feel that way?
Dude, you've been a sports fan, right?
Yeah, I've been a sports fan, but what about the legacy of the Los Angeles Clippers in our lifetime makes you believe that that's a reality?
First of all, you're putting history on what they're doing right now.
Well, they're down too. So
Oh,
based on the limited
well,
presence, they getting
well,
their ass kicked.
well. I don't. I'm gonna say they're getting their ass kicked because they lost. Well, the game yesterday by 2 points, which is still a loss. I know it don't matter how many you lose by, it's still a loss. But
I listen, and in a weird way, Jason, getting beat on an almost alley oop buzzer beater hurts more than getting your ass kicked by 40
I
because that's
agree.
a punch, and they got to get off the canvas in 2 days, and I don't see them doing it. They already don't have Kawhi Leonard. Is he magically going to come back from the dead? Um,
And
um,
Phoenix doesn't have Chris Paul, so what?
right, but right now, one of those teams looks way better without their All Star than the other team.
In 2 home games.
Fair enough. That's fair. Charles Barkley is notorious for saying that a lot of these guys are going to play well at home. We'll see how you know some of these Phoenix players play in LA. But I'll just say it overall. I've been really impressed with Miles Bridges. Like they have a lot of really good young players that they just kind of fill a role. They don't necessarily need to have the ball in their hand at all times, and they're assertive. It's like the anti Ben Simmons.
Jeez. How overrated and how much of a bad pick is that looking right now of Ben Simmons? I mean, no, he's only been in the league 4 seasons. Well, he's only played 4 seasons, but I tell you what, that's not looking like a good pick so far. Again, obviously, it's 4 seasons. He can always turn around. He's not been the worst player in the world, but a guy with no jump shot. But anyway, sticking to the teams that are still in it. Now, talking about the Eastern Conference Finals a little bit, again, starting tonight up in Milwaukee, game one. I got to say, between the two series, and then they may prove me wrong after tonight, I got to say, that's probably going to turn out to be the more boring of the two series. Um, but not to say the games couldn't be still good. I'm pulling, in that series, I'm pulling for Atlanta for a multitude of reasons. Um, I think Atlanta, the city of Atlanta in general, could use a championship very badly right now. Um, they haven't had one since '95. Um, yeah, I think they've
Oh,
had.
because you're talking. Yeah.
Yeah, the Braves. Yeah. So I mean, and they've had some other teams get close in their championship rounds of sports, the Falcons and the Braves also as well. Um, so I think the city needs that probably at the very least. Um, I also from the aspect of with Trey Young on the on the Hawks. You know, with him, obviously he's a great NBA player. No one's going to doubt that. But I think as of right now, and I agree with it, that they look at Luka Doncic, a player that were two players that were traded for each other in the in that year's draft that they were drafted. Even though I think he's a better player than Trey Young, and I think a lot of people will agree. I think it's very interesting from the fact that, as far as team success, clearly because they're in the conference finals, I think Trey Young is having a better, part of that. My team is doing better than yours right now, so I like that aspect of it too. I think that'll be a pretty good conversation when it comes to who's winning that trade. You know, um, that can be looked at as multiple perspectives. But as far as that actual series, again, I'm pulling for Atlanta, but I'm pulling for Atlanta, and I just don't know if Milwaukee. I think we're ready to finally get over that hump. They were in the Eastern Conference Finals a couple of years ago, fell short of that last year. The question is, what's changed other than their opponent? What's changed? I tell you what, this is their opportunity. If they don't get it done against Atlanta, no disrespect, but you should beat this team. You're the team that's experienced and been there before, including your leader as a player. Giannis. This is your time. You need to beat this team. If you don't, I'd be curious of where Milwaukee goes from there at that point. If you can't get past this team and get to the finals at least. So, what are your thoughts on the Eastern Conference Finals, Terrence?
Well, Jason. I'm a big fan of narratives. You know that. I was thinking as you were talking about the Bucks and the reality that this is as good as it gets, man. You don't have to worry about LeBron. The Nets kind of punched themselves out between injuries and just sheer exhaustion. and you're up against a team that, frankly, on paper, you should be able to beat. I do like the narrative of Budenholzer having a history with the Atlanta Hawks. He coached that team for some time, and now he's with the Bucks. These guys are out of excuses, man. Like the one good thing about Ben Simmons fucking up the way he did is that it took a little bit of heat and made people forget about the shortcomings of Giannis. Because I really feel like Ben Simmons' shortcomings and Giannis's shortcomings, they in some ways remind me of one another. They're not the same. They're not the same. Let's be clear. Don't send me hate mail. One's an MVP, well deserved, but the shortcomings in Giannis's game do drive me bonkers. And I feel like at this point, like he should not be losing his dribble in the post like that because he's given away a lot of points. He's given away a lot of possessions for his team. And frankly, that's why they can't put these fucking teams away. Because stuff like that. So the shortcomings of Giannis do bother me a little bit. They do have me a little concerned. They're going to make this series and these games way closer than they need to be because of his shortcomings. Only time will tell. Having a guy like Chris Middleton, somebody that can kind of be a release valve and let some of the heat off of Giannis, helps a ton. So definitely helped in the Brooklyn Nets series. So I look forward to this series. I think just because there's less players missing from the the uh, the Hawks and Bucks series, I'm looking more forward to that one because I'm really looking at that series as okay, Giannis, you're fresh out of excuses. Get it done. If you can't get to the finals this year, that's on you and your coach.
I got a couple of points to make, but one about the coaches. That's for me personally. That's another reason for me in the hopper. Had to get that one in there. Um, as to why I'm rooting for Atlanta is because of their current coach. I guess interim. I'm not sure if he got that tag removed, but
It's still there.
okay.
Yeah, that
They,
is kind of weird.
well,
It is kind
well,
of weird. Fam, how the hell I done won all these series and I still got the interim tag? Come
well.
on.
I tell you what, man. He has definitely made his case, and he ain't done yet making that case as to why I should be your coach next year. But personally, for me, Nate McMillan, that's another reason why I want him to win because not, I understand looking into why he was let go by the Pacers, but from the aspect of who the Pacers hired for this past season, and now that guy's been fired, I think, and this is kind of spiteful in a way, I guess. I just say I go and admit that I
Is
would
this a
love.
spiteful chant? It
What's
sounds like a
that?
spiteful chant.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to see Nate McMillan win an NBA championship with the Atlanta Hawks. You know, and again, totally understand why the Pacers moved on. I get it, but I've recognized Nate McMillan as a great coach for a long time, even before he came to Indianapolis for the Pacers. So there's that aspect to it as well. But as far as Giannis goes and his shortcomings, I definitely am not going to put him on par with Ben Simmons in that at all. And I know I'm not. I know you weren't saying that they're equal when it comes to how good they are, but at least Giannis, considering the fact that he's the same height as Ben Simmons, can actually somewhat is a lot more reliable on free throw line than Ben Simmons is. I mean, career free throw percentage so far. Now, granted, Giannis has a few more seasons, but Ben Simmons is still subpar below shooting 60% in his career from the free throw line. At least Giannis is above 70, right? This past season wasn't all that great, but average wise, he's a lot better. So, and definitely Giannis has actually improved on his jump shot, right? Ben Simmons ain't done that yet. Well, he's never been a good shooter, so he's drafted knowing that. He hasn't gotten better at it. Free throw shooting hasn't gotten really any better. So now I know, again, 4 seasons to I think compared 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 or 7. still, I think after 4 years of doing something in the NBA and you've been playing basketball your whole life, you think somebody will get a little better at certain things, you know. But I guess we said, as far as free throw shooting, I guess everybody said the same thing about Shaq. He should be getting better at this, but you know, but but yeah. So I definitely don't want to put Giannis on the same plane of shortcomings as Ben Simmons. Uh, yeah, you might advocate for that. Uh,
What I'm advocating for, if you are an MVP, then not only are the stakes higher, but the standard is higher.
Agreed.
He's once you get crowned, if you want to crown them, then crown their asses. Once you get crowned, the 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 level of scrutiny increases. So with that standard and with him being the standard bearer comes my expectation that I expect him to improve. I'm not even rooting for the Bucks. I'm saying can't be a top 5 guy and giving up the ball like that in crucial situations. You are hurting your team. Um, you know, if LeBron did that shit, I'd be all over him too. Hell, I know he's done it. So the same standard applies. So yeah, they are never going to have a shot that's good. So they have to win this year to get to the finals. Otherwise, they're going to have as many naysayers as the 76ers. So my 2 cents. Yeah, I don't, my personal opinion, Suns are going to win this in 5 or 6.
wow, that's pretty disrespectful, bro.
Um, I would
I,
love, I would love for the Clips to prove me wrong, and I actually think Ty Lue's done one hell of a job as coach. Um, but I just don't see it. They not to mention I'm not a fan of Patrick Beverley's theatrics, but you know, unless they're going to headbutt their way into these victories, a la New York Knicks, I don't see a way they can win 4 games. I'm sorry. So I'm going to
yeah, I
go
mean,
5 and call it a day. And I'm going to say, because they like to make things difficult, Bucks and 7.
mm, see, I would almost go the opposite on my predictions with that. I'd be more likely to say the Bucks in 5. If and I'd be open to anybody saying they're going to sweep them. I'd be open to that. But I'd rather I would think the Eastern Conference will be the more shorter series than the Western Conference. Now, obviously, of course, Game 3 for the Western Conference is going to play a big role in that. Because if they lose Game 3, then I think they're going to wind up packing it in, at least up here anyway. Obviously, they may not show it on the court, but you know. Um, but if I'm making an official prediction, since you did, I wasn't going to go there, but I guess I will.
You always
Um,
go. Don't lie.
are you saying I'm a habitual go there guy? Um, but Western Conference, I do think the Clippers are going to win these next 2 games out of spite. Um, but I think they're going to lose in 6. Um, so I'll make that official. I think Suns in 6, and I'm going to call it Bucks in 5. But I'm
Okay.
open to them winning in 4.
Okay.
Oh, and real quick, how mad is how? What do you think the league is thinking when it comes to no LeBron, no Steph Curry, no Durant, no Harden, no Westbrook, no real other marquee exciting players are left in the finals right now except for Giannis. How do you think the league is feeling about that?
What I think the league is thinking, thank fucking God, maybe now there'll be an opportunity of of space for other players to take a step up in terms of, oh, you mean that the league does have a lot of really, really good players? Yes. You know, the NBA, especially with, quote unquote casual fans, which I'm a little skeptical if I would even call them that. It's the I hate the NBA guy, the guy that swears that they like the NBA, but they can't think of a single fucking thing positive that happened this year or the year before that doesn't involve LeBron or KD, because they're so engulfed in. It's the equivalent of like national politics. Like you live in the middle of fucking nowhere, and yet you're still talking about Hillary Clinton and her emails. That is the same as I hate the NBA guy. They despise LeBron or Durant so much, or they love a guy like Steph Curry so much that they literally fixate on that, and they can't talk about any fucking thing else related to the game of basketball and the enterprise of the National Basketball Association. It's a sickness. Get some help.
Well, I mean, I tell you what, like you said though, and the cool thing is not just new stars being highlighted in these conference finals, it's the young stars. You know, you got Devin Booker on Phoenix, and DeAndre Ayton, and the other guys on that team. They're also really young. Then you got, like I mentioned, Trey Young as well, and all his young crew on that squad over there as well. So I think overall that's really good. Not to say Giannis is old or anything. He's only 26. But yeah, I think that's important to see the new young stars of the league. And Devin Booker, man, I tell you what, he's bringing love back to the mid range game. I found that pretty impressive watching game one. All those pull up, fadeaways was hitting from mid range. I'm like, okay, I'm liking this. As a guy who loves 3-point shooting, I actually respected the fact he was able to do that stuff in the mid range game. So
Yep, definitely like his game. And the fact that he is a disciple of Kobe doesn't hurt either. So you can just smile and grin and bear it, my friend.
because I
I
can't
still
say
love
I can't say anything negative about Kobe, man. I feel like I can't disrespect the dead. I'll keep it at his game, and his game was great, Hall of Fame level, legendary. I'll leave it at that.
Here, here. All right. That concludes our review of the NBA playoffs so far. We've made our predictions, and we've given you a great reason to at least check out some of these games in the next coming days. So that concludes segment 3. Coming up, we'll wrap up the show and give our final thoughts on Cal Park Rose.